Arrow Season 3, Episode 19, Broken Arrow. They're kind of some bastards for this episode. They get us with like a crazy scare, acting like they were killing off Roy, which unfortunately still led to Roy kind of leaving the show. I mean, I have to assume he's going to be gone for the rest of this season, and who knows for how long throughout the rest of the series in general. So ultimately, we still lost a character in this episode. We lose Roy after he gives himself up as the Arrow, and the team has to kind of pull Oliver back, like, hey, you can't go out and be the Arrow because the Arrow is dead, which is one of the biggest things that's in here. Is like, they kind of got rid of Roy, at least temporarily. Hopefully they do bring him back as a series regular, because it would suck to see him go and then he only comes back, during like really cool special occasions. But they kind of get rid of Roy, and the Arrow is officially gone, so I have no idea how they're going to do that in throughout the rest of the season and into the next season. I don't know what the heck is going to take place, so I'm definitely excited to see what answer they give us for that one. With how does the Arrow come back and become the Green Arrow that we know? Like, how does that possibly take place after everything that's happened? It's like people think that they thought it was actually Roy. Initially they thought it was Oliver, and then it was Roy. Then it's like, well, the Arrow's actually dead because Roy was the Arrow and he's been killed. And there's just so much happening, and it's like, how are they going to bring back the Arrow after everything that they've done? What is Oliver going to do aside from just be like an entrepreneur at this point? So I don't know what's going to happen with this storyline where the Arrow is kind of just dead and gone. And maybe that's the thing. Maybe he does take over and he changes the costume or something like that, and he's like, I take over. He changes the name to officially Green Arrow or something like that, which I still feel like they probably wouldn't do. I feel like that's something they'll say for a really long time away from us right now. But it was a great storyline. It was very shocking to see Roy get stabbed that second time, and I still didn't think he would die. I was still surprised by it, because it's like these guards are gonna stab him and stuff, and then the cop stabs him. And I was just like, holy crap, he stabbed him and he's, left him to die. I figured he'd be in the hospital, no big deal. And then it comes back and it's like he died, and it goes to commercial. I was just like stunned. I was like, I don't know what to think right now. And, I'm glad that they kind of tricked us on that one, because, like I said, I thought it was just going to be he's in the hospital. It was just going to get worse and worse, and he wouldn't be able to defend himself at this point. So they would have to come up with some plan. But it was just like, he's dead. I was just like, what the heck? Like, they just killed off Roy. But it was a great twist. Them kind of telling the story through flashback, how they came up with the plan and everything. And Dickel's connection and how he knew the cop and stuff like that was really cool. And them having the ending scene with Roy, kind of driving off into the night. Like, I don't know when he's going to come back or how they're going to do things. But I'm definitely excited to see it. And, that was all kind of tied in with pretty much every other story, in this one was just all tied together, because they had the stuff with Roy, and then the other side of that coin was Oliver dealing with this mission. The team has to fight off this metahuman, and he has to help out Ray because Ray's too tech-based. He relies too much on his suit and not really on his own smarts and his own skills. So they have the Neuralink stuff, which I thought was going to be the big thing, but I like how they did it where, he really only used it in the beginning of the fight, and then once it gets broken, Oliver has to say, like, Ray, you have to defeat this guy. Like, you're strong enough to beat him, and Ray eventually does. So I thought that was really cool. And, they kind of have some moments, like, they had a cool little scene between Oliver and Felicity where everyone obviously could tell she was about to say, you're the man I love, but that's fine. She didn't. She stopped herself and was like, you're the man I believe in, and that's totally fine. I don't know, she's dealing with a lot of crap right now, so, it's fine that they kind of threw that in there. I thought it was really funny. It was like she had to stop herself really quick, because she obviously still has the same feelings that she's always had for Oliver, and he still has the same feelings as he's always had. He just knows that he can't do it, like he can't do both. And it was just really great. It was a nice little moment, and then they had the little moment at the end where she mentions, you worry so much about the people you love that you kind of forget that those same people love you, and she was kind of holding his arm. And Ray wasn't too excited about that. Like, he saw how that looked, and he wasn't exactly happy about it, but it's gonna be what it's gonna be. We're gonna have to wait and see how all that extra stuff plays out. Just piece by piece, it's gonna fall apart between Ray and Felicity, unfortunately, because they are a good couple, which was a huge, huge joke in this episode, which I think was funny because it kind of matched what they did in Flash. When Oliver was like, "There's a significant chance that Ray Palmer might be related to you," I thought that was the funniest thing ever. And it was very similar to what Caitlin said in Flash when she's like, when they like first run into each other, or they talk about the suit and stuff like that. And he says something like, "I just can't get it up," and he was talking about the suit because it wouldn't fly anymore or whatever. And they, they kind of go back and forth, and they talk about having sex with each other and stuff. And Caitlin's just like, "There's like, oh my god, there's two of them now." And it was just so funny to me. Like it was just a good joke that they can carry out because they do both say the same silly things. Where it's like you mean it one way and it's just phrasing, and they just mess it up, and then they keep digging themselves in the hole trying to fix it. So I thought that was a nice little joke, and it was cool to see Oliver realize that he does need people to help him. He can't be the one to help everyone else all the time. He's one guy, and it's like a group of 6 people, that kind of know what's going on at this point. Even more, if you count everyone in Flash. And it's just like, he can't do that by himself. He has to let people help him when he needs the help. And I love the way that they tied it in with the flashback at the very last scene. And we see Katana say it, and she's like, "Sometimes you have to let people help you." And I thought it was cool that that's how they tied it in, because the flashback didn't really need a parallel. I didn't think, that was the only tie-in that they really had as a parallel, because sometimes they, it's just like, here's something you got to know about the flashback. It doesn't necessarily have to tie in all the time with the present, but this was definitely a great example of when it doesn't need to, because I thought the flashback was actually pretty amazing. It was very small. It was like in really small chunks, but I think this was probably one of my favorite flashback episodes as far as the China stuff goes, because all the stuff on the island, you kind of can't beat that because it was just unbelievable. But this is probably one of my favorites because we find out that Waller was actually being held hostage for a long time, and that the army was the one that's coming after them. It's not Argus. And I love that because it was just a crazy twist. Like, what the heck? They were going after Waller because obviously it's her. And it's like, why the heck is she trying to kill them? And it seemed insane, in the last couple episodes. And now it makes sense. Like, she'd been shot. She was being held hostage. The general was trying to release this virus on all of Hong Kong for whatever reason, just to say that the Triads did it. And now they're going to basically protect the city. So some crazy stuff obviously goes down there. I have to assume, like, I know I've said it like a bunch of times already, and if any of you guys watch a lot of my reviews for Arrow, you probably know of it by now. But I'm still just wondering, like, where's their son at this point? I'm still just freaking out that we're gonna get to like the end of this season, which I think we only have like 5 or so episodes left anyway, because there's only 5 for Flash, so we might have like 5 more for Arrow as well, and they're gonna have something big happen in the flashbacks, just like they will in the present timeline. And I'm really worried that it's gonna be the death of Makio, because he's just not in the present, and it freaks me out every time I think about it. But I'm pretty sure that's where it's going. But I think this was a great episode for the flashbacks, because it kind of just added in like a whole element where they had to save all of Hong Kong from a brand new enemy, and basically take out this evil, sect of the army, like just out of nowhere. It's like, yeah, surprise, it's not Argus, it's the army. And I just thought that was actually really well done. So I'm excited to see how that all that craziness plays out, and how they try to take out the army, where they end up going, and how they stop this crazy, obviously giant dispersal device. And just all the craziness that's going to come out of that should be really exciting. But this was a great episode. Of course, the ending was insane because they kind of trick us already early on with the Roy stuff. And then a freaking Ra's al Ghul comes in and stabs Thea. Fortunately, if you watched the preview, if you didn't, this will kind of be a spoiler, I guess, for the episode. But fortunately, she doesn't actually die from that. And they're going to take her to Nanda Parbat to put her in the Lazarus Pit. And one of the big things apparently that they're kind of doing in the Arrowverse is that this version of the Lazarus Pit doesn't just bring you back to life. It changes you. It changes your soul and it changes who you are. And on the little, little clips they're showing and stuff, it could have been anyone jumping towards Oliver, but seemingly it's Thea, and she's kind of gone crazy after being revived. So if that's how that plays out, and she's basically insane for a little bit, maybe the rest of this season, and they have to figure it out in the next one, that would be pretty exciting. I think that would definitely be pretty cool. We also got a crazy new thread as far as the storylines go for both Flash and Arrow, where the person that they fight is not a metahuman because he wasn't in Central City. He wasn't in Starling City. He was in Central City, so he wasn't there during the explosion of the particle accelerator. And they kind of just dropped that in, like, if he wasn't there, how is he a metahuman? And it's just like, boop, there it is. So I don't know what they're going to be introducing as far as metahumans and stuff like that, but I have to assume that basically what's going to come out of this is these are the people that naturally have superpowers. Like, these are the people who are just gifted. Like, these are just superhumans. Like, they may not be called metahumans. They would really just call them superhumans. So I think that's kind of what they're throwing in there. I feel like they're kind of doing that for season 4 and season 2 of Flash, Arrow and Flash respectively. So I think it was a great little just toss in at the end. Like, if he wasn't there, how did he have superpowers? And, there could be some other stuff going on that they'll talk about in Flash, time travel stuff. Not that it hasn't already been brought up, but I don't know what to think of that. I'm definitely excited to see where they take that one, because I'm sure they're going to talk about it in Flash. Hopefully they talk about it this week in Flash. But I think that was a great little point to kind of throw in there. Like, he wasn't in the city, so, how did he get these powers? Is it someone else? Random chemicals, born with superpowers? He actually is superhuman. What exactly is going on there? So I'm incredibly excited for that. Next week, the stuff with the being taken to the Lazarus Pit. Excuse me. I'm excited for that because they're going to go to Nanda Parbat. I don't know how welcoming they're going to be there, but Oliver's going to go. He has to save his sister's life, and that might be where he accepts Ra's al Ghul's deal, if he decides to accept it. I feel like they're kind of leaning towards he's going to eventually accept it by the end of this season, and who the heck knows for season 4. So I'm incredibly excited. I think this was a great episode. It was nice to see Adam kind of advance as a character and stuff, and he relied more on himself than the suit. We got the crazy thread with the actual superhumans, not metahuman storyline. Sadly, we lost Roy, at least temporarily. I mean, it seems like it's going to be at least permanent for this season. The rest of this season he's going to be gone. And then, obviously the craziness coming down the line with Thea and them all going to Nanda Parbat together. So definitely a great episode for some cool storylines. Some stuff that was wrapped up in this episode, like the villain. One thing I forgot to mention is with them having, with Lance having found the base in this episode, they mentioned again that secondary base that they have, which I totally forgot about, which I thought they were going to be using this season because of, in the last season, when Slade destroyed it, that was kind of the big thing. They found Oliver at the secondary base, and it's like, this is cool. They're going to have a brand new base for season 3, but they were able to fix all that and work everything out. So I feel like by season 4, we may actually see them transition bases, because whatever they end up doing, if he goes back out as, the Green Arrow and not just the Arrow, they're going to need somewhere else to be, and it'll have to be that secondary base. So they put a lot of little things in this episode that are definitely really awesome, and some pretty big things too, like the Roy and Thea stuff. So love the episode, of course. I want to know what you guys thought about it though, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I have to ask what you guys thought about Roy kind of leaving the show, at least temporarily. Like I said, I don't really know any background information there. It may already be on the web as far as him coming back in a future episode, or how long he's going to be off the show. But for now, as far as I'm concerned, because I don't know any of that info, he's just gone. Like, fortunately, he's not dead, because that would have been depressing, and that was like really sad for like a minute or like a couple of seconds, because I was obviously super late watching the episode, so I just fast forwarded. But fortunately, he's alive at least, so we know he can come back easily. You just drive right back in his amazing red and black Challenger, or I don't know where the F they got that from, but I don't know. He's had it for a while, and I've never thought about it until this episode. Like, where does he even, like, do they pay him? Does he get that much money for being a bartender? But I want to know what you guys think about him, leaving the show for, who knows how long. And I know everyone's happy. Well, unless you hated Roy, and I don't know of anyone that actually hated Roy. But if you did, then you can say how mad you are about him surviving or anything like that. But I want to know what you guys thought about it. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.